Hello and welcome to Just a Girl and Her Firefighter. I'm Christy Homer, your host. Grab your favorite drink, whether it's coffee, fizz, or maybe something else, and let's dive into the wild, wonderful world of first responder life. We are here to swap stories, share laughs, and tackle those "did that just really happen?" moments. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just figuring this all out, this is the place for you. So kick back, get comfy, and let's have some fun. I am thrilled today to be getting to sit down with my new friend, Rachael. And the funny story is that Yazzie, who was on a few weeks ago, she was like, you need to meet my friend Rachael, where she actually was connected through Instagram. And she shared that story on the podcast of how you guys met. And totally random, same fire station. Who knew? Such a small world. She was so kind and connected us, and I feel like we'd be real life friends. So here we are. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your family, kind of maybe how you met your firefighter, what your family looks like, just really anything you want to share about your story.
All right. I'm Rachael. I'm a life coach for moms of littles, generally like teens, under teens, usually the little years. But I am more focused right now on helping moms with their anger, the mom rage that bubbles up that we just feel comes out of nowhere, or we feel like we've been struggling for like way too long with, or just it's that like low level feeling of just irritation. But my firefighter and I, going back to that story, I'll get more how we got into that. But my firefighter and I actually met at work. We met
Oh,
lifeguarding. I like the moment I saw him, I was like, oh my goodness, he is a good-looking man. And at the young age of 18 and 20. And then he ended up being my boss. And so we did not date until the end of the summer. And then we ended up starting dating 2 weeks before the summer started. And I actually went to college and we dated all throughout college. He was not a firefighter then, but he wanted to be a firefighter. He always made it clear that he wanted to be a firefighter. So he did like the EMT thing for a while when we were dating. And then he moved into, because he always wanted to be a part of LA County Fire. That was his dream. So he ended up getting into the wildland department, the fire suppression aid side of that first. And he got in, I think, like a couple months before our wedding. And actually, the day before our wedding, he was out on a fire.
oh my
So we
gosh.
didn't even know if he was going to make it to our wedding. And he ended up being able to get there, like, I think the night before. We were like, thank goodness he ended up being able to get to the reception dinner. Thank goodness. And then we got married. And 2 years after that, he moved into the stations. And so that was 2017. And then we've been there ever since. And then we have 3 kids. We have a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So at one point we had 3 kids, 3 and under.
That's a lot. I had 3 kids, 5 and under, and that felt like a lot.
Yeah.
3 and under
It
would
does.
be.
It does feel like a lot. And there's like absolutely no comparison. And also, to be completely transparent, I do have quite a bit of support around me. So it's not like I'm just solo momming it and just handling it amazingly. No, that's not the case here.
That's incredible. So is wildfire or wildland, is that seasonal where you guys are, or is that year
No,
round?
it was full time. For this position, it was full time. And so he would go do, it was like an 8 to 5 shift schedule. It was interesting. And then he moved into, we have the Kelly schedule. I don't know what kind of schedule your husband's on, but we have the Kelly schedule and it's just here,
Terrible.
there, and everywhere.
It's terrible. We had that schedule when our kids were little too. I don't know why that seems to be a theme when kids are little.
They all have the Kelly schedule, and it's the worst one. It should
It's
be,
so weird.
yes.
The funniest thing is when people ask me like, "Oh, so what's his schedule?" And I say, "Oh, he has a shift schedule." And they're like, "But what does that look like?" And I'm like, "Well, one on, one off, one on, one off, or two off, one on, one off, one on." And they're like so
Yes.
lost at that point. And I'm like, "I know, but it's actually never like that because then he has overtime or he
Yes.
gets recalled. So it's never actually guaranteed."
Yes. And then it'll change. And then they bid
Yes.
and something
Yes.
different. Yes. Yeah. It's very hard to explain.
Yes,
This.
it very much is. Which goes into exactly what like the whole rage thing. I've been talking to a lot more fire wives lately about that. And one of the things that's been coming up a lot for them, and I mean, gosh, for me too, in years past, is like the frustration that comes with not having a reliable and predictable schedule. Like
Mhm.
looking at your friend that has her 9 to 5 husband, and she's, oh, and I just felt so tired this night at bedtime. So I just relaxed and he took over. And it's like, oh my goodness, on shift nights, I have no choice. It's me. No guarantee that they will be able to make it to birthday celebrations or
Mhm.
ceremonies or a friend's dinner party that they're hosting, whatever it is. It's that frustration of, oh, I'm missing out.
Yes. So then tell us a little bit, because that leads great into the next segment of what have you done or found to help alleviate that?
So, all of the things that I've learned, I now teach. And the biggest one that I have learned is just the thought work that it was this big aha moment when someone taught me that your thoughts are controlling your feelings and your
Mhm.
feelings are controlling the way that you act, the way that you respond, the way that you show up in the world, the way that you try to connect with others, the way that you speak up for yourself, like everything. It's all by your thoughts. And so many of the things that we think are facts in the world are actually just thoughts. They're
Mhm.
up for debate, they're up for deciding something different. And so that in itself has just opened worlds of like opportunities for me to feel better and not feel so resentful and rageful. And for example, my husband, he was working yesterday on his usual shift, and then he had today off, and then he had 2 days on in the next 2 days. So we were going to do one on, one off, 2 days on, and then I think one or two off. But then he got recalled and force hired for today. So now he's on 4 days in a row. And when he called to tell me that, I for sure was like, oh, are
Yes.
you kidding me? Like, seriously? Now it's 4 days in a row? But knowing what I know, that my thoughts are controlling, my feelings are creating my actions, and that your feelings aren't a bad thing. It's not that I'm trying to always be Pollyanna, happy go lucky all the time. Ugh, toxic positivity. We don't need to do that
Right.
route. But it is a matter of, okay, do I want to stay in this state? Do
Mhm.
I want to stay like so frustrated and upset by this and victimized by his schedule? Or am I willing to see it a different way? Am I willing and open to think a different thought to get to a different feeling? This is a bummer and I can handle it. This
Right.
is a huge disappointment, and I wonder how I can, I don't know, rest a little bit more to change the demands that I have on myself now that I know that I'm going on 4 days in a row instead of, oh, I only have one day. I have enough energy for one day. Like, how can I take a step back? How can I pull in more support? So, like, my mother-in-law and father-in-law came over and are spending time with my kids more, and I'm not like trying to push myself as much as I usually would. And goodness
Right.
gracious, it makes all the world of a difference.
It totally does. I talk to people a lot about this. It's like that idea of flipping the script and
Yes.
really like switching what the thought is. And then also utilizing help because, and
Yes.
it's one of those things, we didn't have family in the same state. And so we didn't
Hmm.
have family support, but I had learned to build this community around us that was
Hmm.
not even really in the fire service. And
Yeah.
sometimes I would get in my head of, oh my gosh, they must feel like I'm using them or they must feel this way. In reality, it was not that. We just
Hmm.
have decided in our culture that we don't and shouldn't take help. And I
Yes.
think that's a mistake because
I think so too.
yes, you rob the other person of the blessing of helping. And then also think about grandparents. Like your kids get to see their grandparents or they get to have these other adult relationships. And as my kids are getting older and into the teen years, seeing some of my best friends like pour into my kids is such a blessing. And of course, they listen better.
Isn't that always the case?
But that's awesome. And that's so cool that you're doing this when they're so little
Mhm.
and then teaching people how to
Yes.
really focus on this.
Yes, yes. And I want to shout from the rooftops, like, if I can do it, you can too, which I know that I have support. So I'm not trying to like look at any mom who doesn't have support and be like, suck it up, buttercup, let's get going on your mindset. Absolutely not. Like,
Right.
your world is different. You have to make those different fine-tunements to your world to support yourself, whatever that looks like to you.
Mhm.
And like, I'm always in support of getting this support that you need, the help that you need, the encouragement, the appreciation that you need, whatever you need. It's just a matter of like, how do you go about, well, first, believing that you're worthy of it, and
Mhm.
two, advocating, learning how to advocate for yourself, learning how to set those boundaries that you need to set with either
Mhm.
other people or with yourself, to be honest, because I don't know about you, but I do a good doom scroll at night sometimes, and I got to
Right.
set that boundary for myself.
There was a season I had to charge it in the bathroom so that it would just be in another room and it wasn't by me. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, broke the habit at
Yep.
least for that season. But yes. And then that gets into the whole other can of worms of comparison and this
Oh
is
my
what this
goodness.
family looks like. I'm like, this is just terrible. Like, what are we doing?
Yes. And it's so easy to think, to have someone say comparison is the thief of joy. And of course, like, you mentally get that, but it's so
Mhm.
easy for your brain to go there. And I just want to offer that if anyone's listening to this and they're like, oh, I compare a lot. Yes, obvious. Like, your brain is wired to do that. Your brain is wired to continuously look for any threat to your existence. And if you are looking at someone else and saying, oh, their life is easier, better, simpler, more fun, if it has any kind of threat to your body of we're doing something wrong, your brain is wired to pick up on that. So that's why it's so important to be the boss of your own brain. And when you have
Mhm.
that comparison pop up, no judgment of yourself of, oh, I shouldn't be comparing. It's like,
Right.
oh, I see you, brain. There you are. You're doing that thing. It's okay. We're safe. We're okay here. They can have their thing and do really well on there, and I can do my thing and do really well with mine. What am I really good at? What do we have that's going on really well in our family? And what's like the whole comparison of the 9 to 5.
Mhm.
I was stuck in the spiral of like convinced that my husband's job was making my life worse. No one could convince me otherwise. And it
Mhm.
took so much more effort on my part to see it differently. And I did not start from a positive, I just love this life. That like did not work for me. Instead, I had to go to a neutral place of he has his shift, he has his days, and some days he's here and some days he's not. And we get to
Mhm.
decide what to think about that and what to feel about that. And that felt way more empowering than being like the victim to his schedule.
Yes, because that is just a terrible way to live. It's no fun.
It is. It was horrible.
Mhm.
It was horrible
Mhm.
and sad, and it caused so many fights. And my husband felt so unappreciated, as well as like,
Mhm.
how was he even supposed to respond to that? Me saying that hit the thing that he loves most for his
Mhm.
career, the thing that lights him up and gives him that purpose, other than his amazing family. I mean, like,
Right. Of course.
other
Yes.
than that, like, his wife is just poo-pooing on. I would be so like disheartened if that was the case for me. So I looking back, I'm like, oh man, the guy like really went through it with me, given all that disappointment with his life.
Right, absolutely. And they do such an amazing work. I had to really switch it to be like, we can take part of it and it can be really amazing.
Hmm.
And realizing that what we do at home with maybe it's balancing the schedule and working our own jobs or whatever it
Hmm.
is, that what we do is just as important and a part of
Yes.
what they do.
Yes. And that's another thing that I've been in the DMs with about when on my Instagram pages, like that,
Mhm.
like saddening, hard feeling of he's the hero and I'm
Mhm.
just at home. Or like he's the hero, so he needs to make sure that he gets his naps and I just have to hold it all together. And
Right.
I shouldn't be emotional or I shouldn't dump on him while he's at work because he needs to be left alone because he's the hero, which I mean, there is some like goodness to all of that, being mindful of your spouse's work life. And obviously, you would want the same respect to you, but telling yourself that you are not as important or not as
Mhm.
valuable, not as needing of sleep, rest, connection, play, fun, friendship, whatever it is that you're needing in your life, that's just going to set you back, which I don't mean to go into the shamey area, but honestly, it sets the family back because your family
Mhm.
benefits so much when they have a fulfilled mom who is
Mhm.
connected and feeling good. Then she can, like, it's that saying that everyone says, you can't pour from an empty cup. And it's
Right.
so overused, but it's so true.
100%. And it's such a like this word gets thrown around all the time of default parent, and I
Mm.
don't love this word, but it's what they say.
Okay, tell
It's
me more about that.
the why I don't love it.
Hmm.
I think it's because my view is he is just as much of a parent. I just may be the one that's present a little bit more often. And so I think it devalues their role in it. And I understand the vernacular of we have to come up with some way of why or how to explain, because I think that's the hardest thing for us is to explain what it is we go through, the mental load of everything. And this is any mom, no matter who they're married to, of everything we have to keep in our brains and schedule and sports and all the different things. That has just been, I just always have noticed in my body when people say this, but I think that that's where it comes from is because I feel it devalues their role in it. And back to the being fulfilled, we can come up with other ways to
Hmm.
have that fulfillment. And it might be a side job. It might be a hobby.
Hmm.
It might be
Hmm.
creating like a supper club with your neighborhood friends. Like I get so much joy from creating friendships that are so authentic and real that then fill me up to then pour to the kids. So
Yes.
that
And I'm
was
going to
the
go,
tangent for the day.
no, I appreciate it because I want to actually go back to, ooh, sorry.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
actually my husband calling.
I know he's called me sometimes in the middle, and I'll put him do not disturb, but then he can pump through do not disturb because
Yes.
he's on the favorites.
Okay, so that's exactly my situation. I have mine on Do Not Disturb right now, but I
Yeah.
have him, I don't know how I set it up, but years ago I set it up to where no matter what, he's
Yes.
always able to push through in case
Yes.
of emergency. Like, these are the things that firewives don't talk about enough. Like, we have to think, I don't know what the reason is for you did it, why you do it, but I know for me, years ago when I set it up, it was worst case scenario in my head.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
I want to make sure that if he is calling me to say I love you for the last time, I'm
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Like that is such a scary thought, but
Hmm.
it
But
is what
it
it
would
is.
be harder to live with if it was like,
I'd
oh,
never
I was
opened it.
recording a podcast and put you on Do Not Disturb. And that was the
Exactly.
last time I could talk to you.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, we get each other.
Yes.
Okay, so back to that
Okay.
default parent thing. I
Yeah.
like want to pinpoint or highlight, I should say, a couple things that you said. First of all, the default parent thing, I don't love it, but again, it's like one of those things that you have
Yes.
to describe. And I don't love it for the same reasons that you don't love it, which is
Yes.
it just makes it feel it's like speaking something over yourself. And then all of
Yes.
a sudden you're always, okay, I'm going to get a little neuroscience nerdy with you. I
Oh,
love, love,
that's my
love.
background is the brain.
Okay,
I
good.
did neuro nursing for 12 years.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, you and I love you. Okay, I did a bunch of neuroscience classes in school. love
Mhm.
it so much.
It's
So
so
the part
wonderful.
of the brain, the reticular activating system, is
Mhm.
constantly looking for things that you deem important. And so when you have the word default parent, I know I'm talking to you, but you already know this. When you have the word default parent, you're constantly going to look in your life about how you are the default parent. And if that lights you up and makes you feel so good about yourself because everyone loves you so much and you're so glad to have that position, go for it. Keep that thought. But if it makes you, and this is what I teach in my course, learning your mm-hms and your mm-ms, and your body will tell you. You said, my body like
Mhm.
twitches. It gave
Mhm.
that mm-mm. No, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Listening to that and then saying, okay, what is this bringing up for me? This is bringing up that I don't enjoy this term. I don't
Mhm.
enjoy thinking of it this way. And then you get the opportunity to decide something else. Like you have decided that we are both equal partners. I'm
Mhm.
just present in the home more. That
Yes,
is
there you
huge.
go. There we go. We explained my Twitch. I'm just kidding.
Twitch is valid.
There we go. Awesome. Okay, we've talked a little bit about what you've struggled with and how you overcame it, and then created like a profession from that, which is pretty cool and legit. But what has surprised you the most in regards to being in the fire service? Has there been something that has surprised you that you're like, I did not expect this, or I didn't think it was going to be this way?
Hmm. Okay, so a couple things come to mind. I was just having a talk with someone last night, and they and I both agreed that there was this impression that we both had that there would be a much more connected fire family feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it is in every station or every fire department, but we don't have that in ours as much. Maybe for other departments, they have that, but we don't have it quite as much. But like you said, it's like going and finding your own
Mm-hmm.
family, which is just crazy that Yazzie and I were ended up
Right?
meeting online. And then we created our own little friendship and our own little village and our community and fire family. But so there's that. I didn't realize how do I say this? I'll go back to something I saw. I believe it was on one of your posts, and you said it so well. I believe it was you. I'm going to be really embarrassed if it wasn't.
It's
But
not.
you
Maybe I'll
said
take credit.
something about the like who got less sleep argument
Yes,
in the
yes,
newborn phase. I
yes,
didn't expect that to be such a prevalent like thing of like tit
yes.
for tat almost. Okay,
Mhm.
well, I got no sleep because I have a newborn, but you got no sleep because you were on calls all night.
Right.
Who like gets sleep around here? How do we handle that? And
Mm.
like how do we not grow super resentful of each other and really upset and we're both very sleep deprived? How do we figure that out? That was hard. What I also was surprised about is how incredibly amazing it is in so many ways where it's so fun for my kids to grow up in the fire station. And I mean, they're not literally in there, but
Yes.
visiting. But like being able to say, Daddy is a firefighter and like them connecting that. I didn't realize because he went paramedic for a number of years. I didn't like what surprised me is how cool it is being like our neighborhood go-to person for like big medical issues that people have. And they end up, we've had calls at like 9 at night saying, hey, my father-in-law is not doing well. Can you check his O2 stats? And he's been sent out down the street to go check oxygen stats. So that's really cool. And then another one is I now firmly love the schedule because I love how we can just say, yeah, next Friday or next Thursday, we want to go to the zoo. And while my kids are little, we don't have to
Mm-hmm.
pull them out of school. We don't have to take them. My husband doesn't have to take a day off and use his
Mm-hmm.
vacation hours. We can just go and it's not crowded.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yes.
crowded. We can go to Costco not on a weekend and it's not super crowded. And it's just, yes, he's not there for every bedtime, but when he is there, he's there all day, which I know that for every firefighter, it's not the case for every shift of theirs. Sometimes people work like like 12 hours or 24 hours or
Mhm.
weeks on end, like our Cal Fire friends, but
Yeah,
it just, you find the goodness where you can.
absolutely. And I've even seen there's some families that will homeschool and travel
Hmm.
where that way they can do school when dad's at work and then they get to go do things or they'll stack their shifts. There's all sorts of
Yes.
creative things. What would you tell somebody listening that maybe you haven't already said, or just reiterate? Because you've given so much good kind of wisdom and insight into what you wish you would have known. But is there anything else that you were like, I wish somebody had told me this?
Yeah, oh my God, so much. I'm going to go back
Right.
to what I teach in, which is like the whole mom rage, which is funny because for the same reasons that you don't love default parent, I'm not obsessed with the word or the term mom rage. It's just the way that everybody knows it because every time I post about something with mom rage, everybody responds, is it mom rage or is it actually the sleep deprivation? And is it actually the mental load that's different? Or is it actually like being on and being overstimulated? And is it actually, I'm like, actually, yes. No,
It's all of
I
those.
agree. It's all of them. I teach
Right.
all of that in my course that your anger is valid. Mom
Hmm.
rage sometimes feels like this cutesy term to like gloss over it. Oh, mom rage. But no, your anger is valid. There's reasons that you feel that way. You are not a horrible person for feeling like you want to scream at your little baby that's just innocent and you're like, go the F to sleep because I've
Right.
been there screaming at my like 2 week old in front of my husband whose mouth just dropped open because he was in absolute shock that I would scream at a 2 week old, which I was too. But oh my goodness.
You become
And
a
like,
different human, I feel like, in
yes.
those newborn. There was a moment where my oldest daughter, she was 6 weeks old, and he was doing like an internship and working, like it was through
Mhm.
medic school. And I remember I put her in her crib. She was screaming, and I closed the door and I called him. I'm like, you might actually need to come home. Like this, I don't know that I'm okay. And she's in
Yes.
there, and I don't know what to do. And I think that's the only time I've ever asked him to come home. But I was
Yeah.
like, so I don't know what's happening right here.
Yeah. And those are
Hmm.
the stories that we need to talk about because those aren't talked about enough. As a
Hmm.
firewife, we're expected to just have it all together, hold it all together.
Hmm.
And it's just not that way. Can your firefighter take the time off? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But
Yeah.
being able to raise your hand and say, I'm really struggling is important. If I had gone to a doctor or a therapist, I probably would have been diagnosed with postpartum anxiety and postpartum
Hmm.
depression. For
Hmm.
sure. It was so hard with my first. And then I learned the tools and was able to help. And I did not have that as severe, but I don't think I had it like diagnosable with my second or my third. But oh
Probably
my
just the
goodness.
regular sleep
Yeah.
deprived
Deprived.
feeling.
Yeah. Like hormone induced.
Yes.
Whoa, I'm feeling all the feelings.
Yes. I remember like after I had each kid, day six, by the time I'd had the third, I had figured out day six, no one should come visit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's happening in my body, but day six, no one should come.
Day six, evacuate.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it like your anger, your frustration is all valid. It's all understandable. It's all for good reasons. And there's so much that can be pivoted or tweaked. There's so much more in your control than you realize. But also, you're not a terrible person for feeling that. You're not a terrible person for feeling like you want to break from your kids. You're not a terrible person for looking at your husband and, oh my God, I wish that we had a different life or a different schedule.
Mhm.
None of that is real. Those are just thoughts. And then you get to decide how you want to go forward after that. And you can say, okay, so go back a little bit, your brain offers you 60,000 thoughts a day,
Mhm.
unconsciously, subconsciously, I should say. And you don't even recognize. And then one comes through, oh, I hate my husband's schedule. I hate to like harp on this schedule thing, but it's just something
It's
that's
a,
coming up.
and it's yes, it's the thing I think we have to deal with the most. Mhm.
Yes. And like the thing that you and I connected on where we said, okay, we got to talk about this on the podcast, which was
Yes.
my spouse is the hero and
Yes.
I am like just here. You always get to choose what you want to think instead because your brain is just offering you thoughts. You don't have to believe it. You can say, thanks, brain, for offering me that thought. Not useful. I'm going to change it and I'm going to think about something different. And that's helpful.
Absolutely. I think anytime that we can feel a little bit more in control,
Mm-hmm.
then it alleviates a lot of those things. And we can control. It takes a lot of work in the beginning and effort, but we can control our thoughts.
Yeah.
Has he ever done any kind of pranks at home, or does he leave pranks and jokes or things at the firehouse?
He leaves pranks and jokes at the firehouse, but like we just have kind of a goofy, silly relationship
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So it's not like led by pranks, although I will say I really try to scare him anytime I can.
It doesn't
I
work.
really try. No, not really.
Oh.
That man is cool as a cucumber. There's this picture that I have. I don't even know where it is. I wish I had it. I think it's on Facebook somewhere though, too. And it was me, my sister, and my sister's friend, another girl, and my husband. We were all at, I think it was Universal Horror Nights or something, or
Okay.
Magic Mountains Horror Nights. I don't know. And they take a picture right as they come out and scare you and scream at you. And me, my sister, and the other girl are like towered and cowered, scared. And my husband is literally looking like he's just walking to the beach. And that man just like does not get scared. So I don't know. We have a lot of silliness where we just play with each other a lot and smack each other's booties all the
Oh,
time.
all the time. This would actually be a good question, is what has been the funniest thing that has happened or most ironic, which could also be the most terrible, I don't know, when he's been on shift? Like, has there been a funny thing that has happened? He's been on shift that you've had to deal with.
A funny thing. I'm trying to think of like funny, but my brain is only offering me the really horrible.
You can talk about the horrible thing. Maybe that's what we're supposed to talk about.
It's like another thing of like default parent I don't love is like the
Yes.
whole Murphy's Law thing.
Oh, yes.
I hate that we speak that over ourselves, but it is funny. Sometimes I will think, oh my goodness, of course this happened when he's
Hmm.
gone. My husband, so 2 years ago, we got a puppy and she was like 4 months old, and it was New Year's Eve. And we didn't even see my father-in-law was there with us, and we were all in the other room, and my puppy, we don't know if she jumped onto the bed, jumped off the bed, or the vet said she may have started running really fast and got her foot stuck in the carpet. We have no idea, but she broke her leg
Oh,
at four
no.
months old. And so I had to take her to the vet and get her into surgery, and that my husband was on his first day of three.
Oh,
Right
so
when
then you
like
have to do the meds and the
yes.
like home stuff too. I can
Yes,
see
yes,
that.
that too. And there was no places open for surgery except for LA, so we had to drive. I had my dad so kindly was able to drive with me to LA, which is like an hour and a half away, to get her to
Oh,
surgery. And then the other thing that happened was Christmas of last year. My 2-year-old was running around, and that same dog that broke her leg jumped off the
uh-oh.
couch right as my daughter was running and slammed into my daughter, slammed her into the wall. And this was like a couple hours after my husband just went on shift on Christmas Day, and she knocked out her two front teeth,
Oh my gosh. Were they baby teeth?
baby
Oh yeah,
teeth.
she's two,
Yeah.
so baby teeth.
Yeah,
Okay.
two. And
Oh
we
my
were like, oh
goodness.
my gosh. And I called my husband, just thank goodness he was able to pick up. I was like, there's blood everywhere. Do I take her to the
Yes.
emergency room? Do I take her to the emergency room? Yes or no? And he's,
Am I need more
yes.
details? Yeah. Oh man. Is this a small dog or a big dog?
She's big. She's golden retriever.
Okay. Oh, that's a fun dog though. It's little shenanigans that dog does.
Yeah, she's a naughty dog. Oh my gosh, on my
Around
Instagram
the
page, I'll put
holiday.
naughty. Yeah, of course, it was like on Christmas Day.
Yeah. So then you couldn't even try like an emergency dentist office or any,
Nope,
it's just
nope.
the,
It was just going to the emergency room. They looked at it and said, yeah, there's nothing that we can do. Actually, her one tooth got knocked out. Her second tooth was pushed so far back that it was like hanging on by a thread, and the dentist had to remove it. I think we
for
got in 2 days
goodness
later, maybe,
sake.
or the next day. I can't remember. But anyway, so the funny thing about all of that is it's not funny.
Okay. Right? The funny thing is, it's not funny. Yes, all the things that pop up. We had an instance where I think, yes, I did have my son. So the girls were probably 4 and 2, and then he was a
Mhm.
newborn. And
Mhm.
he had, I think, I can't remember what he did, but it was something to the point where he was finally sleeping. So I went to go take a shower, and the girls were quiet up in their room. We had a 2-story house, and they were in their bathroom,
Oh
and
no.
they had filled the sink with water, but left
Mhm.
the water running to make a swimming pool for their Barbies, which I
Yes.
mean, it's very clever, very clever. And so and I didn't even take a long shower, but by the time I had gotten like figured out what was happening, taken a shower, I probably was like nursing the baby, went over there, water was dripping from the upstairs. And I was like, what is happening? And I was so confused. And I went up there, saw everything. And what we found out later is that house had been a daycare before. And they had added, it was like a 1950s house, but they had added on like so many different random things. And the upstairs was added, and they put, I think, is it plywood? What's that like super soft wood?
Maybe plywood.
Is it
I don't know.
plywood? Like the one that's like super crumbly. I can't remember. Like all the IKEA stuff's made out of.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's not plywood. It's some, I don't know, whatever that is. They had put that wood in there instead because
Yeah.
it dampens the sound, is what I'm told. I know nothing about any of these things. And so it just absorbed, and it went like through the whole ceiling. And so I called my husband. He was like on his way to a code 3 or code call. And so he was like, I
Yeah.
can't help you. And so
Oh.
I had to call like another neighbor's friend's husband, and he was like, stick a broom up there to let the water cut. It was just a whole
Oh.
disaster. So
No.
that was real fun. They still torment them about that to this day.
Yeah.
They're not in that house anymore, but it was quite the experience. I was like, there's water coming from the ceiling. That
Oh no. Just
was
all
fun.
the cleanup of it. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes. They didn't get to play with Barbies for a minute. I was nervous. Okay, well, let's go. We'll do our last question, and then I'll hit some rapid fire
Okay.
questions. But the last one we'll end with is, what do you wish the outside world could understand? If you could explain or share something that you wish somebody who's not in this life could understand about what it is we go through, do,
Um,
live, be.
hmm. About us or a firefighter?
Just this lifestyle. So either way,
Lifestyle.
however you want to answer it.
I think I think of my family who are just so go with the flow with it all.
Hmm.
And I it's not that I wish other people knew that because I don't I've mindset myself way too hard in that direction of need them to think anything about
Yeah,
us.
maybe what would you like people to understand?
I would like people to understand that this job is the you knew what you signed up for thing. I
Yes.
didn't. Nobody
Mhm.
does.
Even if
Nobody
they are
knows.
a firefighter, you do not know.
Yes. You
Yes.
do not know. You do not know what you're signing up for until you're truly in it. Like you can conceptualize, people
Hmm.
can tell you a story about it, but you do not know until you have lived it and experienced it yourself. And not even for a couple days, but like truly for a while. And that whole, well, you know what you signed up for. You signed up for this.
Hmm.
It's like, well, A, that's not helpful at all. And then B, there's no way. There's no way that anyone could ever imagine what we're going to get into until we are in it, no matter what the position is. Fire, doctor, EMT, grocery store clerk, dentist. We just don't
Hmm.
know until we're in it.
Absolutely. And each area is different, and each family is different. So
Yes,
even if we could articulate exactly what it's going to be like, mine is going to be different than yours. And same
exactly.
thing, like we can give, this has been our experience, this is how we've overcome it, this is what works, this is what didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Mm-hmm.
can't quite understand. It's the same with parenting. Like you can read all the books, and until that little baby arrives, you have no clue what
Yep.
is happening. And then they become a teenager, and you have to learn it all over again.
Yes, a complete relearning.
Yes, this has at least been my experience. Okay, we're going to end with some fun questions. So, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie. I would probably say The Proposal.
Oh, yes, that's Sandra Bullock, right?
Yes.
And when the
Yes.
eagle takes the dog,
Yes.
and then the sweat drips down my balls. Yes, anytime I hear that song, I think of that movie. I love that movie.
It's so funny. It's just one of those feel good ones where it's
Yes.
so funny.
Yes, that's a very good one. I might need to watch that one again. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
And then how do you drink your coffee?
Drink creamer with coffee.
Ah, I see. At least you know what you drink.
My
There's no
husband teases
illusion.
me. He teases me endlessly. It's really not that bad, but he just drinks it black. So he's always
That's
like,
how I drink it.
a
Yeah.
little bit of coffee with your creamer and make all the jokes you want.
But it tastes so good.
It tastes so good.
Uh, what is an item that you cannot live without?
Mm.
Can't be people.
I remember listening to Yazie's episode and she said her phone. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Okay, an item that I can't live without would be like a shower or a bath because
Oh,
those are
there you go.
so healing to me. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness. There's nothing better than a good shower cry
Mm-hmm.
or like
Yes.
just sitting in it and just relaxing with a book in a bath and just letting the water hit you and it's so warm and relaxing. Shower or bath.
That's a good one. Okay. That's a good one. Okay. Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
And you guys, because you're down in LA, so you're close to all of it, huh? You
We're
could go to
close to all of it.
mountains,
It's
you can go
like
to
hour and a
beach.
half this way, hour and a half that way, hour and a half this way. You get
Mm-hmm.
mountains, you get the beach, we're in the desert, so we are in the
Yes.
desert.
Yes. Okay, the last one, it might not actually be rapid fire, is what is the best advice you've ever been given? And this does not have to relate to fire. This can be anything in general.
Trying to think about something my mentor has said to me that's really impacted what I've thought and felt.
You even said something in the beginning, something with the thoughts, and you didn't say controlling thoughts.
I was going to say that, and then I was like, I feel like I already said that, but I'll just say it. The
Yeah.
most impactful advice that I have ever had is that your thoughts are controlling your feelings are
Mhm.
controlling your actions and reactions, and that so much of what we think is a fact in this world is up for debate. And
Mhm.
you truly get to decide whatever you want to decide about anything. Like you get to decide right now that you are worthy of love and affection, and you are worthy of being put time into and investing in. You get to decide that your body looks good, or at least it's not a terrible vessel for you. You get
Mhm.
to believe that the habits that you have, you're not lazy. You just have a brain that is doing exactly what a brain does. You get to believe anything you want about anything ever.
Well, that is an excellent way to end. We'll start and end with the same thing. And I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So I will make sure in the show notes that people can connect with you. We'll put your Instagram. I don't know if you have a website or what your preferred reach out method is, but we'll for
Instagram.
sure. Okay. We'll for sure put your Instagram so that if people are like, okay, this is intriguing, I need more information or more help, they can connect with you and learn
All right.
all the things. Thank you. I'm so grateful for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you for doing this. This is such a good thing it's so needed in our community. So
Mhm.
thank you for stepping up.
Oh, my pleasure. It is such a joy.
Yeah. I bet it's been fun connecting with so many different people in so many different walks of life.
Yes, people I would never have talked to before because we're just not in the same state.
Yes. Yes. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
That's one
Yeah.
of the beautiful things about social media.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, this was awesome.
Thank you for listening to Just a Girl and Her Firefighter. It would mean the world to us to have you subscribe, like, share with all the people you love, and join us in our FireWife community. Thanks again, and see you next time.